All right, we're live. Hello, everyone. It's Joe Russo here, your summer E-class principal. I am just waiting for some of our teachers to join in. And let me just make sure we're in the correct link here. Okay. So it seems as though we're waiting for a couple of our teachers to jump in. I still don't see them. We're waiting on Luigi Mazzucco and Julia Nobrega. Just one second. I think they're in the YouTube view experience only as opposed to the live hangout. Just let me give them a heads up. I sent two links in the email. Click on the longer link in the hangout. All right. So folks, without further ado, this is all about sharing something cool about learning. And I can guarantee you that with our first presenter today, you're definitely going to be wowed in terms of the possibilities of something cool around learning. And so Christina Brown is here, and Christina is going to show us a new digital tool that is built into Chrome, Google Chrome. It is an extension, and rather than try and explain all of what it can do in a non-eloquent manner, I'm going to turn it over to Christina, and Christina is going to have about 5-10 minutes to highlight the possibilities. I will, however, make mention right off the top that Christina is jumping in and sharing because TCDSB teachers have the opportunity to jump in and test this new service that she is going to highlight today. So for those teachers that are interested in having test accounts and access to this service, please let me know following our broadcast here, but also for those of you that are going to watch this at a later time, you can email me and let me know of your interest as soon as you finish watching this video and determine that you'd like to give this service a try. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Christina Brown. Christina, introduce yourself, your company, and the rest is all yours in terms of the demo. So thanks for being here.
Sure. Thank you so much, Joe. Hi, everyone. As Joe mentioned, my name is Christina Brown, and I am a product manager with Gale. And you all have access to a variety of Gale digital resources through Toronto, and one of them is our In Context product suite. If you have not used them already, or if you have, our In Context suite has a variety of different subject area products that focus on different things from Canada. We have biography, science, etc. So today what I'm going to show you is something that is not actually currently available to you through the library service, but it is something that we've given you guys free access to because we want your feedback on how this tool works and how this extension works. And the product that this is tied to is our Opposing Viewpoints in Context product. And what Opposing Viewpoints is it's a database that shows various in terms of hot topics in the news and things that your students are searching on. So things like immigration, cloning, drug trafficking, etc., things of that nature. So those are the types of content that's available within Opposing Viewpoints. What the Chrome extension does is if you were to have, like you will for the next month or so, access to this particular database, is you can do a search on a hot topic like immigration. So if you're looking at my screen right now, I'm just on the Google homepage, and I'm a student, and I was told I needed to write a report or provide some information on immigration today. Now, we all know, and we wish that students would go into a library database or into an authoritative content location that they could do their research on so that they could actually give us credible, cite credible information. But we know that they always go to Google. And so what we wanted to do with building the Chrome extension was to really reach students where they're at. So if we do a search here on immigration, what's going to happen is the students will still see Google results on the left-hand side. And if you look to your right, the Toronto Catholic District School Board library results. So this is linking directly to the trial that we've set up for you guys to have access to the Opposing Viewpoints database. So not only do students see results that are vetted and authoritative, they also have access to the viewpoints that are within that particular product, academic journals. So these are peer-reviewed publications, along with reference content that is also here in this database. Now, they certainly have the option to go ahead and continue on and look for immigration on Twitter, but our hope is that in showing this on the right-hand side here, and right away, right when they do their Google search, that they'll be able to get good sourced information. What I will show you next is when you find an article that is of interest to you. So let's do this first one, Sanctuary Cities Violate Federal Law and Common Sense. I can go ahead and click into that, and it will take me directly to that particular article. So if you're familiar, like I said, within context, you can do all of utilize the same features and tools that are available within the in-context products. So you can read through, this is some commentary before this particular article, having some questions here that the students can answer as they read the rest of the article here. Certainly they can continue to highlight and notate in the document, similar to what they can do today in most of the Gale products that you have available to you. Certainly they can toggle back to the Google screen and perhaps select a different option, or they can do a search within Opposing Viewpoints. So if they actually searched Opposing Viewpoints, they would be taken to the topic page that is one of the staples of the in-context products. So they would be able to see that. Otherwise, if they were to click through, perhaps they don't know what academic journal for, but they know they need an academic or a peer-reviewed publication to cite. They can click on that particular link, and that will bring them to all of the results that are available for that search. And then again, then they can toggle through here to grab anything else, whether it's videos, primary sources, reference biographies, etc. So I'm going to go back to the Google page here and take a pause to see if there's any questions. I'm not on the YouTube channel, so Joe, please let me know if anybody's...
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We've already got engagement here from, I believe we've got at least a couple of English teachers, and I thought they would be interested in this. So the first question that has come in from Ms. Ribeiro. Is it accessible only if they go onto Google through their TCDSB accounts?
So how would they go on to Google, you said, or?
Yeah, so I think Christina, what they're asking is how do they authenticate to be TCDSB students so that they get connected to the services we already pay for?
Yes, so there's a couple of ways, and this is, and I'm working with Chingling and probably Joe and some other folks to determine this, but if you wanted to download this Chrome extension directly onto your personal device as a teacher or administrator or as a student, right now the extension is live within the Chrome store, but it's by invitation only. So there is a private link that I've given Joe and a couple of others that have access to it, and I'm sure he'll share that with you guys if you are interested in using that. And basically you would download the Chrome extension and then it would ask you to set up the options. So if I go into I'll do it this way. Go into the options when you're setting up an extension. It will take you to this page, and you can put in here the library name or the school name. This just happens to be a testing account, but you guys have your own location ID for TCDSB, and then you guys also have your own password. So once you set all of that up and hit save, it will, and it should, wrong screen, then allow you to do a search, and then you would be authenticated in that way. Additionally, there's the option of doing it through IP, so the password is actually optional, and that's something that would need to be worked out with your technical folks. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now that we're very interested, and tomorrow I will be testing things a bit more thorough with our IT department, and then proceeding from there. I can already tell you, Christina, that we've got a few teachers that are interested, and we've only got about 19 viewers. So I'm wondering, it's going to extrapolate from there. I'm sure it's going to get bigger.
Okay.
I've got another question here from another English teacher, Oscar. Or maybe just a comment. He said, I would definitely be interested. This is a great tool for an AP English language course that requires a lot of nonfiction reading and researching.
Okay, great.
Okay. And let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, so I'm just going to pause for a minute and ask our current active 18 viewers if they have any questions they want to ask Christina. Okay, so Christina.
So while we are taking that pause, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to mention too, so this is currently in beta testing. Like I mentioned, the link in the Chrome store is private. So there could still be tweaks to this before we roll it out to the mass public. So definitely any feedback you guys have would be much appreciated. We're also looking at what is the best way to roll out. So for Oscar, who mentioned this would be a good fit potentially for his AP English class. One of the things that I had mentioned to Joe, why I wanted to make sure that I was able to get out in front of you guys and share what the Opposing Viewpoints product is. It's not something that you're just going to go out and search just about anything that you would search Google for. Because it's Opposing Viewpoints, because it focuses specifically on hot topics and issues, those are the best types of projects or research topics that you should be using the Chrome extension for. It's not something that you want to look for something more general on. As the results there might not be really what the students are looking for. And as we know, if a student stumbles upon something that they don't like, they're not going to use it at all in the future.
Okay, so I just put out a prompt here to everyone. Just curious if anybody has any specific search of interest that they want us to conduct live here.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And again, keep in mind, hot topics is really what this product and controversial pro-con type of subjects is what the extension will render the best results.
Okay, I think, again, another one of our English teachers has recognized the importance that credible sources and the frequency of use of Google searches, this whole side-by-side view is really powerful. So,
great.
Okay, I've got a question here. So the context would be more current events. So one of our teachers, Michael Bragar, is asking, so you tended to highlight or emphasize the hot topics.
Yes.
But would it only scan hot topics or not? How does that work?
You said, will it scan hot topics?
Yeah, I'm thinking, is it only going to include when it does that search?
Mm-hmm. It's going
to include like a pool of topics that are hot topics as opposed to anything deeper.
So I'm going to search on something that wouldn't be a good search to do against the Chrome extension. So I'm just looking for the Toronto Catholic School Board, and you can see that's not something that you're going to find within the database. So we put up this little note here, sorry, we didn't find what you're looking for. If you're working on a research project, search through your library's Gale database. So this will take you to the list of databases that your institution has access to. So things of that nature obviously are not going to happen and show good results for. I could search for something like, I'm trying to think here, that's something that's not too controversial, but so here in Michigan, I don't know if you guys have heard much about it, but there's a Flint water crisis that has been in the news across the board a lot. And so that does not give you a lot of results. It does have some information there, but it's not going to give you the best thing. It's not really a controversial topic. So it's hot in the news, but maybe not something that has a lot of pro-con to it. It's because Google searches everything, basically what we say is whatever you're searching in Google, do a search within our database. So whatever comes up based on that search is what you'll see for these. Because we only show 3 different content types, the viewpoints, the academic journals, and the reference materials, that's all that's going to appear. That does not mean that that's all that's within the product. This is just what we're highlighting. The reason that we've chosen these 3 different content types, this has the most weight in terms of what Gale brings to research. We could certainly show news articles, but because we are not Google, we don't have, by second updates on, what's happening in the news. So we do things, we have a lot of newspaper articles and publications that are 24 hours. So within 24 hours, we have it within our product. But we didn't want to compare ourselves to Google. We wanted to show how your library has, these authoritative contents, even if they might not be, exactly to the minute of what's going on in the world.
I mean, I would like to say that this is definitely value added to your service because the convenience, I know we talked about this a bit, I think we need to harp on this, but the convenience of having this side-by-side comparison of a Google search with services we're already paying for, services that have been vetted. Do I need to say more? And making that convenient. We don't need to keep up with Google. We need to gain perspective,
right?
Real perspective. So I really think this is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So Christina, we've been on for about 15 minutes. Is there anything else you want to share with our staff?
No, I appreciate the 15 minutes of time that you guys have given me and the questions and feedback that you guys can bring. I'm hoping that you guys can get some good use out of this during the summer months here and help us, really make this the best extension possible for students. I will share that because, like I said, this is a pilot, this is in beta testing, we are only currently using the extension to connect with our opposing viewpoints in context product. That does not mean that we are not looking and open to expanding that to other Gale products. We've definitely heard that and gotten that feedback from other folks. But for now, for the beta pilot, we're just focusing on one to make sure that we're doing what we should be, what people are needing, what people are asking for, and what's going to be most useful before we roll that out to other products. But yeah, any feedback you guys have, feel free to let me know or share that with Joe, and I look forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, Christina, let's keep in touch. We've got a very large school. We've got approximately 200 teachers, I would like to call them innovators, that would be open to this. And so, given the short period of time, that would be the only constraint because a summer school session is 19 days. However, that being said, I'm going to be trying to find the time to make this thing work in the back end and also provide the login information and try to help teachers that are interested to gain access, but also to follow up with that feedback that you need. So don't hesitate to keep emailing me because what happens is you just keep getting to the top of my box.
Sounds good. I will do that. I'll ping you every day.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Everyone else does. So why not you?
All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys.
You're welcome. You take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. All right, everyone. So you're kind of stuck with me here. I'm waiting for anyone else that was willing to share something cool, but I think I may have sent them the wrong URL. However, that being said, I know there's a few updates that I wanted to put out there, but I thought about something. I thought about something in terms of convenience. The other day, not mentioning any names, but the other day there was a teacher who was really trying to set up notifications and use an external email address and get these notifications to the I'll say this little clue, his phone. And I was really working with them. And the thing is, though, is that there is a little bit of a limitation, and it's more of a precaution, really. When students are within an online course, we have to maintain their security, their safety. And so their email address cannot be use to contact anyone externally. And that would be the sticking point, is that trying to gain some kind of external notification for a teacher to set up to their phones, for example, or to an email, so that whenever there was a question, discussion post, something to get a notification, it's really hard for teachers to know when people respond. So I was thinking about this to an email, and so that whenever there was a hi Julia, action post, something. I'm just going to mute you for now, okay? Okay, so I was just thinking about this, and I have somewhat of a solution depending on how you want to manage your workflow. And you probably know about this, but okay, Luigi's coming on. I'm just going to mute you for a sec. All right. So folks, I don't know if you know about this feature in Google Forms.
It's probably best to speak to him, but
just 1 second. I'm going to try to mute you guys. All right. So you guys have been muted, okay? Julia and Luigi, just for 2 minutes. So I wanted to share a tip. If you go into Google Forms, which is really, really amazing, and it just gets better and better. I'm going to go into Google Forms. Okay. Not over there. Let's go here. Okay. Here's a great example. So here's an example of a Google form that I put out that basically captures any kind of students that want to know or want to request a report card. So if you click on these three, I guess, dots, points, whatever you want to call them, you can set up to enable to get notifications every time your Google form receives an entry. Now just pause there for a second, okay? So if that's the case, if that is the case, then the potential in terms of using Google Forms, you can position a Google form as a general link or embed it within your course that could be titled, ask your teacher a question about something. And the moment they ask you a question, they don't have to enter an email address. They just have to enter, their name, so you know who asked the question. But you can actually ask them, hey, you got a question? Just put in the entry, and then the teacher will receive a notification to their email. You will receive a notification to your Outlook account. I don't know, I'm thinking that's pretty cool in terms of wanting to know when your students have a question about something. You get that notification, and then you go in and you see who asked the question. And when you have the time, and when you have the opportunity to respond based on understanding their question or how best to respond, you can go in and support them. The other thing that's pretty cool that keeps on coming up is that teachers have been saying, students have been submitting things late or so on and so forth. I haven't had a chance to test this with students that are non-TCDSB, but I'm going to try to test it as soon as I get a minute. When you can actually use Google Forms to collect files. So you can set up a Google form whereby you have to enable that students have to log in, and then you can include a question that allows a student to upload something. Okay? So if you want, for some reason, you want to collect things without having a separate Dropbox for someone, that it's visible for some other students to see that have actually been doing their work and submitting things on time, because there are extenuating circumstances. And the other thing is you don't want to manage, workflow through your email, because as kids send you stuff and then you're trying to save it and remember who sent you stuff. If you enable this Google form to allow students to upload a file, that Google form and that spreadsheet that's created that captures the entries from the Google form will have all of your information there. One-stop shop. You don't have to worry about where the files went. Okay? So I know that recently Google enabled or allowed for the possibility of non-institutional or non-organization accounts to be able to upload files. So I'm going to speak in English. What that basically means is we should be able, using Toronto Catholic Google Apps, we should be able to allow both TCDSB and non-TCDSB students the ability to upload files within Google Forms. So I'm going to check out that option for you guys to see if it's been turned on in our Google Apps admin console. But just think about the power of Google Forms. Getting those notifications about submissions and about questions right to your phone or right to your email, so you know when to check into your course, so you don't have to pop in. If you think of how that can work into your workflow to help you and your students better, please consider investing some time, because it's pretty awesome. That's how I get my notifications, because I have way too many things on the go. And so I tend to forget, oh, I've got a Google form out for this and out for that. And the reality is, the moment that someone submits to a Google form, I get a notification and a reminder to go back and say, hey, this is actually still open. And it reminds me that this is something still pending that's, needs to be addressed. So I hope I dropped you a couple of cool points about learning there in terms of workflow and the possibilities. I'm going to turn it over to Julia, because I think in the back channels here, Luigi said, no, Julia's going first. All right, so Julia Nobrega, a lot of you know her. She's always around helping out. She's smiling, and she loves soccer. So that's one of the many things I love about her. Julia has been part of the e-learning team for a few years now, and she is constantly looking for ways to improve workflow and just enhance teaching and learning online. And so I invited her to share one idea, and she's here. So she's always willing to support other staff and students. And Julia, thanks so much. You've got about 5-10 minutes. The floor is yours.
Got it. Can you hear me? Is it working? All right. So I was watching all the YouTubes for the past couple of weeks, and I got a little bit intimidated. I thought I was a very experienced teacher, but then you hear all these great ideas and you're like, oh man, there's so much more I can do. So I'm actually going to take something that I got from the 21C camp from May, and I'll give all the credit to the teacher. It's a good plug, great plug. So the way I see it, if you're not skilled enough, you make up an effort. So I took this information that I had, and I put it all in a little PowerPoint, because I got a new computer 2 days ago, and I'm not trusting my new computer abilities right yet. So let's see if this is going to work. So look at this. Look at me now. My grandfather could only see it. He'll be so proud. All right. Can you see the screen, Joe? Thumbs up? Beautiful. All right, let's present this. So back to this camp, I went to a little presentation with Monica Salvador, and she's excellent. So she was the one that came up with a lot of the stuff that I'm going to show you. So I put this in our summer school session 1, the PL course. So this PowerPoint's there with all the links, so you can use that. But if you don't want, we can do that for session 2 as well, because I know some people are in session 2 now. So Monica Salvador is a school board teacher. So she has her presentation, and she also put all her tools in a Google Doc. So she said it was okay to share. So that's my disclaimer. I'm not the original author. So here we go. So the one I'm going to focus on is called Padlet, which I just started using this year. So I wanted to make sure. Hold on. All right. So that's the one I like the most out of all the tools, and some of them are already new. But this is the one that I'm trying to use it for the first time this year. So it's similar to a wall that we have. So the wall that I have on D2L, I keep it very business professional. But the wall that I have on Padlet, I have a lot of more resources. It's a little less confusing for the students. For my 12U kids, they like it. So for the sake of time. So this is what Monica set up as all her toolboxes. So in her Google Docs, she has a little presentation, what's good and bad about all these things. So it was like phenomenal. I'm not a huge workshop kind of person, but I actually learned a lot that day. So from Kahoot, things that we've used before, but then the Padlet is the one that stuck with me. So that's what I'm going to go over today. So this is her Padlet wall that she created just that day for the presentation. So some of you guys will not use this, let's say, for your online learning, but you'll use it in your professional development or even staff meetings and things like that. She said she used even to set up for one of her classes as just one of the lessons. And as she was teaching, the kids would just ask questions. It allows them to do live on discussions and also comments. So she set up for her class like 5 separate different questions. And as she was teaching the lesson, they were just engaged in answering and talking about it. So the link with all her information of these toolboxes are at the end of this slide, so you're going to have it. So as we were doing this, we're allowed to add comments and resources as we went through. So the whole group, some people weren't comfortable enough to talk about it, but they would add to it. So it's very simple. You go to the Padlet.com, and then you sign in with your Google account, but you can also sign in with your personal account if you want this for a separate function. And then you're almost creating a wall for each one of your classes. So let's say you're teaching math and you're not using, let's say, a full D2L shell. You can use this for extra videos, flipped classrooms, and things like that. So you're going to pick a template that you like. And then at that point, you're just going to try to make it pretty. So just to go quickly through it, the same way you would do for your YouTube videos, you can set it up as a password, you can set it up secret, you can set it up public. And then you kind of go from there. You can play with this as much as you want. So the key, the one that I want to make sure everybody looks at, is that you can block kids from commenting. You can also allow them to comment, but then you have to authorize it before you publish it. So that's a good safety video feature, I would say. Especially if you're working with junior grades. And you can play with the post. So it's almost like you have a wall and a discussion all in the same place, which is what I like. Then at that point, you're just adding your columns, whatever you want to add to that. So your checklist, your column. What I was finding is that in my D2L shell, because I had so much information to give, things were getting pushed to the bottom. A lot of kids were not getting to the bottom to see everything I wanted to say, especially in the first 2 days that you have help sessions and things like that. And then after that, you can keep it as a separate link, just share a link and they go in and out. Or you can even embed the code and put in your own D2L shell. So it's almost like a second separate wall. And that's how kind of I'm using it. So it's really for that sake. Like, I don't want all this information to be the first thing they see, because then sometimes like information about exams go to the end. So for my wall right now, the next column is going to be our exam schedule once I get it. So it's there and set. So it's just a little bit of convenience. So eClass walk-in support originally wasn't the first thing on my D2L, which I did post there. But then like the next day was all the way down because I had 2 other things to say. So current events, any of my office hours, I'll post there. And then things I like TED Talks and things like that. So I posted this right now in our summer school session. I did it this morning because I was up really early. So in our tech tools, this whole PowerPoint's there. And then Monica's, for all her toolbox, not just the Padlets, but she did for her whole presentation. She said it was okay at the presentation to share. The link is there as well. So really it's like Monica's doing, I'm just taking a little bit of hers and adding a little bit of what I did. Definitely not the expert in any of this, but if anybody has any questions, this is my first go at it. And then we're just trying to learn as we go. But after watching everybody's presentations this summer, I thought I was a second nature digital learner, but then I also know there's so much to learn every day. So this is where you are, that I'm at. I think that's all I had to say.
You're awesome. That was awesome.
Ha.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of my Padlets as well. I love Padlet. It's been around for a while. And so once upon a time, I shared this with guidance counselors as a summary. And then guidance counselors would be able to just, ask a question and just get all the information that they needed. It's almost like a website too, potentially.
Yeah.
So when I was listening to you speak, I was thinking about so many different things. I was thinking about...
we should do one for the World Cup next summer.
Let's do it.
We'll
Absolutely.
have like all the teams and columns, highlighted goals.
Let's keep that. Let's keep it let's definitely keep that. Hey, you know what? The whole idea there, Julia, is building community too, right? So when you have these engaging, interactive spaces, that opportunity to do pretty much anything and connect people. And so I thought of it supports collaboration, it supports reflection, it supports the opportunity to make learning visible because students could respond to other students and build upon their learning. It could just be a place where you know, kids can access a different way of coming together and sharing, right? So it's pretty awesome. Thanks for sharing, buddy.
No problem.
Okay, up next, we've got Luigi Mazzucco. Luigi, you can unmute your mic, and the floor is all yours, Mr. Grader App himself. So, in case you didn't know this, Luigi not only loves the Grader App on his iPad, but the moment it doesn't work, he realized that he bypasses me and doesn't really ask me anymore, you know, about how to resolve the issues with the Grader App. He just gets on Twitter and he politely just, you know, calls out D2L and says, "Hello, D2L, at D2L. Can you please explain why the Grader App is not working?" And they resolve it. You're awesome.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, it's true. There are flaws with the Grader App, but I think all in all, it's a really great tool to use. I know I see some of my colleagues from Father Edmund, from Marshall McLuhan, former colleagues from Marshall McLuhan, are in on this. I guess this session. So I've kind of convinced them or converted them to marking this way, and I think I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. I'm actually going to time myself 5 minutes, and then I'm going to stop talking. If there's any questions, you can ask Joe, and then I'll gladly answer them. But it's pretty easy. It's come a long way in the last 4 or 5 years. So I have some screenshots of just a rundown of what it's all about. So let me just try to figure this out. Bear with me.
No, you got a hanger on your nose. Eh?
Do I really? Okay, so essentially, if you were to log into your app store, or I can't remember what it's called, Google Play it's called. What's the store for Google called? I can't remember now. Anyways, if you were to log into any Android device as well now, you can access the D2L assignment grader. So it's available now not only on iPad, but any tablet you might have that's full. So this is a login screen. I'm just going to go quickly. So what you're going to see, essentially, if you try to log in once you've downloaded the app, you're going to come to a screen like this. You're going to have two login options. You're going to have D2L online course login and login Edudentity. So you're going to first log in as D2L online courses. This is going to take you to something that looks like this. Sorry if it's not perfect. But it's going to take you to something that looks like this. And essentially, you have to put in the TCDSB eLearning Ontario link right here. You're going to connect. Once you connect, you're going to be prompted by this lovely page. And I refer to it now as the student lying down on their computer or using their computer. And you're going to log in as a TCDSB student or faculty member. Once you've done that, you're going to be prompted with this. Once you're prompted with this, you're going to log in with, as you would log into any account when you're at school or at work. The Wi-Fi login I like to refer to as something that you should all know. Once you've logged in, you'll get a message like this. You simply click continue. You will be taken back to this screen now. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. Sorry if I'm going quickly. I'll answer any questions after. But you'll be taken to this screen here. And essentially, you have to either create an Edudentity account, or you will have to remember a previous Edudentity account you might have had. Regardless, it's going to be your TCDSB email. Okay, that's how you're going to create the new account or your existing account. It's going to be prompted here. So right here, you would click tcdsb.org. This is your email, whatever it may be. The password, most people have an account set up, so you would simply type in forgot password. They would send you a reset code, and then you would be able to reset the password to something that you remember. If that doesn't work, it doesn't recognize your TCDSB email, create a new Edge Identity account using your TCDSB email. And I think they have them in the system. It's just a matter of activating it, and then follow the prompts. I'm going to scroll down. Once you've logged in, your courses are going to load. So this is the course, my course for this summer. And as you see, all my assignments come up. It shows what I've done so far, what I've marked. But essentially, I'm going to click one of them, and you will get a list.
Tell them why it's in French.
It's in French because it's a French course. It just, if you weren't aware of that. But yes, I teach French. I've done that for quite a few years now. But you're going to get the list of my students or your students. The feedback I've left has been published already, and I'll show you what that means in a second. But whoever you want to choose, if you want to go in order, whatever you decide, you pick the student. And then you will be you'll be taken to the assignment. I recommend that students submit assignments as PDFs. That's the one thing that I've noticed as a common, I guess, problem is that sometimes Word documents do not load properly. And that's why if you have students submitting as PDFs, you will always be able to use the marking tools. It will always load properly. The Microsoft Word document, it has to convert it to a PDF, and then you're allowed to mark it. So if there's a problem with the server or problem with the program, you won't be able to mark it or even open the file at times. So I recommend always use PDFs. Either way, I get students in this case to do both. I can choose either or. If one's working, if the other one's not working, that's a possibility that you have that option of switching. The grader tools are on the side here, and I'll show you what the different tools do. I have some examples. Okay, so as you can see here, I pick the select tool. Okay, and I just circled some stuff. I picked the color red. You can change the thickness of the stylus, whatever you want. Some people are using iPad Pros. You can use the stylus. It works fine. I've used different pens. You can buy the pointers or whatever they're called from the store. Some work, some don't, depending on the way you hold a pen. It all depends, right? But I tend to just use my index finger to highlight, and I'll show you what I've done. This is an example of how I've graded the assignment. So I've circled some stuff, I've highlighted, I've pinned a comment, underlined, highlighted. So you can do it all using this app. Once you've done that, okay, so just playing around with it, it's pretty straightforward. Once you've done that, I'm going over my 5 minutes. I think I'm into almost 7 minutes now. Once you've done that, you're going to simply click the arrow right here, and it's going to give you a feedback box. And this feedback box is used to type in comments if you don't feel comfortable marking up the page. So you can type in "great job," or "please look at my corrections," or "please resubmit," or "please add," whatever the case may be. That's the box that's you're able to type in with an iPad or any Android device. If you want to audio record, you may use that tool. I've never used it before. I've tried it. I'm not comfortable enough to leave my voice with students, but it's a possibility. But regardless of what you choose, it is going to leave the files as an attachment here. Okay. Once you've published, which I'll show you the tab here. I don't know if I've showed you. So there's a publish tab right here. Once you click publish, okay, or update or retract, there's there's a file that is created, a PDF file that is created, or it would be an audio file. And students, that's how they view the feedback. So when they go to their Dropbox, it'll say feedback left at this time, and students click that and they'll see what you've left for them. And this is what I sent back to the student. And you can see just simple feedback. She actually did pretty well on this assignment. And yeah, as you can see, I don't know if I really did a good job of explaining it, but hopefully, let me switch back now if I can figure it out. Yeah, so hopefully, yeah, it's a quick rundown. It's pretty straightforward to use, but I think it will save you hours, in my opinion, on marking, because even just it's like, I guess, putting Dropbox files back into the Dropbox can take a long time. Going through each of them with, typing out comments, highlighting with the mouse. For me, that took a long time. So when this came out, I tried it right away, and I'm so, I guess, happy it works, because if it didn't work, it'd be, especially if you have larger classes, it takes a really long time to kind of go through. Students want good feedback. And the one thing I've noticed using this tool is they actually see that you're marking up the paper like you would at school. And they actually see that you're taking the time to read it over and highlight and do whatnot. I'm sure you can do that with doing Microsoft Word or whatever program you use, but I feel like they see that kind of circling. It almost it kind of is a what's the word I want to use? It's almost like, yeah, they're in class, you're marking up their paper right in front of them. It's like they're sitting beside you and you're giving them feedback. And I haven't had any complaints yet, knock on wood, but hopefully, it improves, because there's some things like rubrics that's a whole different discussion for a different day, but you can't attach rubrics. That's the only thing. But other than that, if you're able to write a bit, in many places, so students, they've always been happy with the feedback, I guess, and the grand scheme of things. So I'm going to shut up now, because I think I'm going on 10 minutes. I'm going on 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop, and I'm rambling.
I'm going to ask you to put yourself on mute there.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some feedback. We've gone up 10 viewers since you started, so that's got to be good feedback. If you check the chat, I think quite a few people are very happy with what you've been mentioning, both of you. I know that a lot have downloaded the Grader app already and have been highlighting some other things you could be doing as well with the app. Thank you. Thank you to both of you guys. It's not a matter of stopping or seizing. It's a matter of your own professionalism. You just want to keep sharing and giving, and that's why you're here. And but just like Generation Z out there, we all have a very short attention span. So I promised everyone who's going to be watching, we hit 30 viewers, which is awesome. I promised everyone we do something very quick and move things along. So folks, share those resources with me. Luigi, share that whole breakdown of your Google Doc there. And Julia, same thing around the Padlet. And then I'm going to look at eventually, when I have a moment, I'm going to create content pages within our course team shell. And our course, let me say that again, our team course shell. And I'll title it as a module, Virtual Professional Learning Sessions, and I'll curate all of our resources there. Okay? All right. So just a few housekeeping items before we go. Folks, when it comes to technical support, if it's not a login issue, and if it's not a username or password issue, students and staff need to direct their questions to supporton@d2l.com. That's supporton@d2l.com. And don't forget, it's on the homepage. So the moment you log into our homepage or into our virtual learning environment, it is on the homepage, that information on the right-hand side in one of the widgets, okay? The other thing I wanted to mention was, it's not that when you send me an email that I don't want to share information with you. I do tend to push everyone to the team course shell, because I'm trying to put everything there. I know the calendar doesn't have all the dates in there, as identified by a teacher who just sent an inquiry saying when our marks due. I just don't remember everything. And so what I will try to do is update that calendar in our team course shell. But I shared the calendar with you guys in the activity feed weeks ago, so you can pop in there. So think about the team course shell as our main space. I've also been trying to come into the or go to the discussion areas. A lot of good sharing is happening there, and I've been trying to reply to everyone, engage with everyone, and so go there. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. I guess I just want to be a student again. The other thing I wanted to mention was around the Dropboxes. So in segue from the course team shells, I will mention that if you go in there now, I set up Dropboxes for your exams, your culminating activities. And so if you've got it already ready, then you can upload your final exam and culminating activities. I'd like to say that I'd like to have a copy of everyone's final exams or culminating activities. I know that some are done within their online course, but if there is a paper copy, I'd like a copy of it in the Dropbox, because for me, it's going to be a one-stop shop. And guess what? 6 months from now, when a parent calls me and says, you know, we never got a chance to review our final exam, or what was the final exam about, or what was the culminating activity about? Well, then I can just go there and I don't have to bug you right away, right? So for me, it's about workflow. The other thing is grade 12 university level exams. We're going to be printing off the exams for you. So the moment that you submit your exams there, I believe that you'll have an opportunity, again, because I don't use things as often as I would like. I believe every time you make a submission, you'll have an opportunity to leave a comment. So if you can leave a comment as to how many copies you need and any other materials that you need, Foolscap, the Scantrons, and so on and so forth, leave that information with your upload as well when you upload your final exam, okay? When it comes to the Dropbox folders, again, in our team course shell, I also included something new this year that I've invited everyone to share. But again, it's more out of convenience for me, because again, even though eClass is going to end August 14th, it really doesn't. I can open up eClass anytime I need to in order to explain things to students and parents, right? And so there's an additional Dropbox folder right now on top of the final exam and the culminating activity folders. And the Dropbox folder is called raw marks, or total overall final marks. And so at the end of your course, I'm asking teachers in WebMarks to download a copy in PDF format of all their students' raw marks. So it's kind of like a mark update. And I believe it's called Mark Recorder with Schema. And that way I'll see the students' names and I'll see all their raw marks in a nice little snapshot that I can just scan and review if that conversation does happen, okay? So that's another thing. So the Dropbox folder is pointing back to the team course shell. A lot of students have been inquiring with me, and I guess I'm talking more about session 1, but session 2 teachers, if you're watching, eventually this is going to apply to you and your students as well. A lot of students have been reaching out to us asking, when are we going to start looking at final exam prep and final exam review? So that conversation and that whole setup to our final exams, which are almost 1 week away, should start happening as early as this Friday in order to prep students and give them a chance to organize themselves and ask the right questions and get in the frame of mind of really trying to prepare for their final exam. So they don't just, you know, contact you last minute and say, hey, what am I doing to prepare my final exam? So please think about that as well, okay? The other thing I want to mention was, and this is more for session 2 teachers if you're watching, we are still registering students up until Friday. Folks, it's not in any way, shape, or form to be meant to be annoying. It's meant to highlight our strength, that across the province, we're the only program, we're the only board that continues to be a viable option to students halfway into the summer, which is pretty awesome in terms of allowing students the opportunity to get ahead, catch up, and get stuff done while they're trying to have fun over the summer. So, and hence the reason why we've grown so much. So please be patient with those students that could be integrated as late as, I hate to say this, Monday afternoon. But things happen. Like this morning, we got notification from 2 teachers that they were completely blown out of their course, and all of their kids. So about 40 students, 40 plus students were displaced from their course. And somehow they were taken out of Trillium overnight. And so it didn't generate a class list when we sent up the extract to D2L. So things happen, right? But in terms of formal registration, the cutoff would be this Friday. But by the time everything gets processed, because our team is working furiously in the background, catching up to e-register, and then students and parents, they contact the Con Ed email, which then gets forwarded to us. And then students and parents contact the board's general email box, and then the webmaster sends it to us. Yeah, it's called the webmaster as the title. So, and so we're just trying to catch up with all of the requests, and we literally look at the date, and if it's beyond the cutoff, we don't look at supporting the request. But if it's within the time frame and just we haven't had time to process it, we want to try to honor that request that's being made. Okay? So I guess the last point that's really important to make about this is that if we continue to, excuse me, if we continue to accept students, then we are also looking to continue to hire, and we're also looking to continue to balance core shells. It's not very likely, but it could be possible that some of your students will move. So we will give you notice of that, and then we will need your cooperation to calm students down, saying, hey, you'll be given some credit for anything you've submitted, and then teachers can share marks about things that have been done and marked, okay? But I'm not going to leave a whole bunch of kids in a class and the other one with very few students. I'm trying to balance everything out. And it takes a lot of manual work because I don't want you guys to wait and see if things happen overnight. We try to take care of it in the same day, which requires a lot of manual work for the same day transactions to happen. So that's a lot of information. There was a couple of other things I wanted to mention. Yes, the CEC is a very awesome place, especially when you take out permits and then things are happening in the background where you realize you may not have the rooms for your final exams, but we do. We have secured rooms, but again, we have so many final exams happening that we have to have an AM and a PM session. Now, before I go on, I want to acknowledge again, if students need extra time because they have an IEP, if you're scheduled for a PM exam, and I haven't shared that list yet, okay, but if your class is slotted for a PM exam, but your student or your few students in your class have an IEP and require extra time, you can allow them to come to the board office in the AM to start writing their exam. We'll arrange for supervision until you arrive in the PM, and vice versa. So if you're starting in the AM and you need some extra time, and we can try and arrange that supervision, just that we got to get the exam to you should you leave, right? Okay, so that being said, the list of placements right now, because I just got an email, excuse me, because my throat is drying out, which means I should be ending the broadcast soon. Because I just got an email from permits and facilities manager at the CEC, I need to review it because they initially took away some rooms from us, and now they may have given us back those rooms. So I can't really announce who's writing the exam in the AM and the PM, but I will do so by tomorrow in an email to everyone, okay? And I'll also post it in our course shell, our team course shell, okay? That again would be Thursday, and so that would be 1 week away from, it'll be 1 week away exactly from our final exam. So that gives students 1 full week to arrange their lives to make sure that they're writing their exam on the right time and on the right date. Okay. Just checking my list here. I was just going to position this as another something cool to do about learning here. You may want to consider the, hi Giuseppe, you may want to consider using Google Hangouts to facilitate final exam review, like when students need to review their final exam after they've written their final exam. So if you wanted to conference with each one of them, literally, you don't have to see them, like they don't have to be displayed, because if you initiate the Google Hangout, then you have full control. So what you can do is if they log in and they show up in your Google Hangout, like Julia and Luigi do on the bottom here, you can actually click on them and hide them from the broadcast. But they can still see you and hear you, or they can see your screen and they can hear you. So that you can display the final exam and you can talk about what the final exam looked like in terms of overall feedback. But that's an option for you that you might want to consider. I know that a couple of teachers are coming to see me tomorrow at the board office because they want to review the whole usage of Google Hangouts and trying to take advantage of this medium to either engage in online conferencing or show students how to do this with one another, or just try to leverage the tool to the advantage of themselves, their workflow, and overall teaching and learning experience while they're in this course. Okay, so I guess I'll wrap up by saying, folks, a reminder that we're not going to be online again until next Wednesday, which is the day before exams. I'm hoping that that's still convenient for you. I know it would be a good opportunity to have those conversations because I know some students are getting antsy. I know a lot of parents and students are contacting me directly and they're saying, hey, my teacher doesn't respond, and hey, I submitted to the wrong Dropbox and they gave me 0, and now I'm like, my mark dropped 10% and I don't understand, and they're all freaking out. So my first reaction is I respond to them by saying, you know what, your teacher is supporting a whole bunch of submissions and students that don't necessarily stick to the timelines, and so they're trying to deal with a whole lot of confusion. The best thing you can do is to reach out to your teacher and have a conversation. Try to have a conversation with them, go back and forth, help them understand what happened, and I'm sure they will be understanding, and nothing ever comes back. Well, there's one that I've got a call right after this broadcast, just one out of 6,000. I think everyone's doing a fantastic job. But there's a learning curve, not just for students, but for parents when their child is taking an online course. That whole distance between the teacher and the student and not having a physical space takes a little bit of getting used to. But you guys keep doing the great things you're doing. Keep being proactive, keep having conversations, keep over-communicating and letting students know where they stand at all times, because they always, not just students, but yourselves, always need to have a sense of hope. And so when that hope is there, everyone is patient, everyone is understanding, and everyone's trying to work hard to improve and get better and make the most of this opportunity. So with this, folks, I bid you adieu. We meet again next Wednesday. And if there's anyone out there that wants to test this new Google Chrome extension, please send me an email, because in the chat here, I may not have time to go through everything, but send me an email and I'll try to hook you up with Christina Brown and enable that service for you. And the other thing is, if you're interested in sharing something cool about learning, let me know, because you could be on our next broadcast next Wednesday. And lastly, we're going to be preparing for final exams and culminating activities. So if you have any questions going forward, please don't hesitate. I want to give a shout out to our team, our admin team, because they're working around the clock. They are working around the clock. Mark Brighton is going through e-register and organizing it. That whole inbox, like I could not imagine. Anthony is trying to keep that workflow going on, and he's stepping in when people are calling, and he's giving that good guidance counselor advice regularly during these conversations, because a lot of students, they take courses and they don't have that guidance once they leave their school. So I want to thank Anthony for that as well, and everything else. I want to thank Nicholas, and I want to thank Stefania, and I want to thank Vanessa and Jessica in the background. They are just responding to voicemails and emails and demits and that whole everything, the whole kit and caboodle, and they're doing amazing. So I got an awesome team, and I think it's showing because I still have the energy to host these things and bring everyone together and try to keep my response time to 3.6 seconds. So that being said, I think I've said enough. I wish you guys a great day, and keep in touch. Bye for now.